one of the tours of Israel, we were in the desert at night at a Bedouin tent camp, and I remember I was looking into the distance and I saw, God was doing all these cool things, and I looked to the distance and I saw this mountain, and I was like imagining this could be Mount Sinai, just how it would be like, and literally there was lightning that kept lighting up this mountain. Just so I can imagine what this was like. People were scared, lightning, thunder, shofar sounding, getting louder and louder and louder. God gives Moses the tablets, the 10 commandments of the law, the beginning of the law. The purpose of the law was to bring forth a holy people. At least that's what it seemed to be. The problem was that the people weren't holy. Therefore, the law was filled with a lot of no's, a lot of thou shalt nots. That you cannot do this. To remove the ungodliness from the ungodly, to take out the unholiness from people who are unholy, to remove adultery from those who were adulterous, and lust from those who were, and lies from liars, the anger from those who could murder. But it didn't work. Paul said, actually, the real purpose of the law was to show us that it doesn't work, that we are sinful and we need God. Israel ended up breaking the entire covenant, ended up being judged and sent into exile in Babylon. And that's when God said, at that time, the time is coming when I will make a new covenant. They broke this one, and it was right after that, the time's coming, I will make a new covenant, not like the one I made when I took them out of Egypt. Though I was a husband to them, I was faithful, but they broke it. Now, this is exactly what we go through. Even in the new covenant, we're all new covenant, we're in that, but we still in the natural live under the law. What do you mean? Well, we have in our mind standards of what we should be. And the standards are right. What we should be, holiness. I should be holy. I should be holier, but I'm not. We try to fulfill the standard. We try to be the person we're supposed to be. Even in the new covenant, though, it's at living as if you're in the old covenant. And to this day, it doesn't work. Because the natural way of man, doesn't matter if you're a pagan and you never heard of the law of Moses, we live by laws. We live by, this is what it should be, but it's not. And this is the way the world should be, but it's not. This is the way my marriage should be, but it's not. This is the way this should be, but it's not. That's all in our head. We have these thou shalt and thou shalt not. Some of those things are actually totally right. Some may be off, but the point is the standard is not enough. All it does is the more you know what is right, but you don't do right, the more you got a conflict in your own life. What did Paul say? He said, the law it showed me all the more what was right, what was wrong. And so I knew what was right, and I agreed it was right, but then I found myself doing the very thing that I said was wrong. So it's like I'm at war with myself, and I said, that's what the law was doing. It was showing me that. Now let's go from Sinai, this is the old covenant, let's go to the beginning of the new covenant. Let's go to Luke 2. And I'm going to read the little bit of the account that is, of course, very famous. Luke 2, and these two things are some of the most famous accounts, Sinai and this. And here it says in Luke 2, it says this. Verse 4. Joseph went up from Galilee from the city of Nazareth to Judea, the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was the house and family of David, in order to register along with Mary, who was engaged to him, was with child. While they were there, the days were completed for her to give birth. She gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him in cloths, laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. In the same region, there were some shepherds staying out in the fields, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord suddenly stood before them. The glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were totally afraid. But the angel said to them, don't fear. I bring you good news of a great joy, which will be for all the people. For today in the city of David, there's been born for you a Savior who is Messiah, the Lord. The sign is you will find a child, a baby, wrapped in cloths, lying in a manger. Now, what is the connection between that? Here is the scene of the birth of Messiah. Some of you will be there. You can actually see the place. There's still the hills of Bethlehem. You can imagine where the shepherds were, because it's all shepherd land there. But what's the connection between here is the birth of Messiah, here is God coming into the world, and then on the other hand, you have Mount Sinai, where God shows his power, gives the law. What's the connection between Sinai and Bethlehem? And the connection this can change your life. This is called the Ephratah connection, and Ephratah is another word for Bethlehem, or the Ephratah equation. It can change your life if you apply it. It can change the way you deal with everything. It is said that Dwight L. Moody, who was a famous evangelist in the 19th century, he once stood in front of an audience and lifted up a cup, an empty cup, and he said, "How can I remove the air from this cup? How do I get it out?" People had different ideas. Well, you can vacuum it out. You can do this. But there was no good way to take the air out of the cup. But what does that question have to do with Bethlehem, and what does this have to do with your life? The answer is everything. How do you remove air from a cup? You can try to suck it out. You can end up with a vacuum, but you'll have to close it up because the air will come right back in, and you can't take that. So the answer to the question is, how do you remove the air or emptiness from a cup? You simply fill it with water. If you fill it, the emptiness goes out. You fill it, the air is going to go out. You don't have to think about, how do I get air out? You're just going to fill it with water. That's all you have to do. Now, what does that have to do with you? And what does that have to do with Mount Sinai? Mount Sinai is showing the problem. How do you remove sin from your life? You try to get the sin out. You try to get the lust out. You get the evil, you try to get the gossip out, but you often find yourself falling right back into it or into another one. It's like trying to suck the air out of a cup. Even if you could do it, the vacuum will suck something else back in. And what does that have to do with Bethlehem? Everything. See, Sinai is like every law. It's like a cup and saying, this has to be filled up, but it's empty. And how do you get that emptiness out? What does it have to do with Bethlehem? What is Bethlehem? Bethlehem is God pouring water into the cup. He's pouring his life into the world.
To find out how you can receive more of Jonathan's teachings, to receive special free gifts, or get in touch, go to hopeoftheworld.org or call toll-free 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's hopeoftheworld.org or call 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's 1-800-937-4821. You can also get more at Jonathan Cahn's Facebook page, or write us direct at Hope of the World, Box 1111, Lodi, New Jersey 07644, USA.